somewhere. You and I were wearing all of Greece one night in Fantasia.
Yeah. Summer 11, right? That we were saying? Yeah.
Regina, would you do a musical? Would you ever?
Sorry, I love to dance and sing. Musicals are actually some of my favorite things to do, so I would definitely do it. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stephen, we know you can sing. So would you want to revisit Bill Thompson musically?
Nathan Barlow, who does our amazing music on our show, came to me about 2 years ago with this idea, and so I went to his house and basically laid down a couple of tracks to playing Bill, and we recorded the songs for him to give to Charlene and Alan, and
Is this a toad offense that's happening?
say that again.
It's a toad.
Oh, a toad-worthy offense. Somebody's phone going.
Do we have the toad of shame here?
There's no toad of shame here.
Sorry.
Anyway,
We'll explain what total shit is.
Okay.
So anyway, we recorded this stuff, and it was for Nathan to take to Alan and Charlene and see if it would be something that they would be interested in doing, and they signed off on it. But that was the only thing that I was ever going to do for it, because the idea of I love Bill, but I'm really excited about moving on and maybe singing something else.
And you mentioned the Toad of Shame, which is a thing on set.
Okay, so a couple years ago, who was it found toad?
Manuel.
Okay, found I kid you not, dead, completely pressed, sort of flattened toad on the ground where we shoot all of our exteriors in Malibu. And so they did what any rational and normal person would do. They laminated it and made it into a necklace. Which became the Toad of Shame. And the Toad of Shame is awarded for lateness, phones going off, breaking other people's shit, or just generally if we kind of gang up on you. But it's the cell phones going off in the middle of takes is kind of the big one. So I just sort of feel compelled to want to award a toad to anyone whose phone goes off ever now. If I stand still yelling toad, toad, toad in public, what do you say? Well, sorry,
Who got the toad the most in this group? Who was awarded the most?
I got the toad twice in my last week. Well, I never had the rest of the 7 years. I forgot. Like I put my alarm on my phone to bid on some plates on eBay. And I was in the middle of my close-up. It went off, and then I got up, ran, bid, got them, went back, poured the toad, and then continued with my toad.
Has anyone else gotten the toad?
Never asked for the toad.
I got to request the toad. They weren't going to give it to me, but I totally did a toad-worthy offense, so I had to beg them.
Wait, what was it? What was your toad-worthy offense?
I knocked over a prop beer bottle and got like sticky stuff all over the floor, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's okay, don't worry." And I was like, "I'm not made of glass. Give me the fucking toad." I'll take the toad for that.
There's a wall, the wall of shame at work, and there's probably about 250 pictures, because every time that you had to put the toad on, they take a picture of you wearing the toad, and then you have to wear the toad until the next person does something toad-worthy. And there is a wall of about 250 pictures, and I think Wheezy was the winner.
No,
Lenny.
Oh yeah,
Lenny.
It was Lenny. Manuel dressed up like a toad in a giant toad outfit and presented it to everyone out their career. Oh my god! There was a statue and everything. It was beautiful. I was jealous.
This is what women.
So if you guys have questions, we're going to start taking questions from the audience in about 5 minutes. So start lining up if you want to ask a question. You guys have been a Comic-Con mainstay now for 7 years. Do you have specific memories of Comic-Con, like other things that stick out in your mind of this experience? Because it's been, when you guys rock stars here. So I mean, do you remember one moment in particular that stands out?
Well, I'm a virgin. This is my first time here, so this is my favorite moment.
Before the show had even aired for the first season, we did a panel here at Comic-Con, and I didn't know that anybody kind of knew we existed, but Charlene has a very, very loyal following. Al has a very loyal following, and we packed a giant room. I was like, how do people even know what this is? And I found that to be kind of amazing. And they were just as warm and enthusiastic as once we actually had the show out in the air and people didn't even watch it. So I found that kind of amazing.
What about the rest of you guys? Stephen, do you have a memory of Comic-Con? Particular one?
I mean, that one as well, the same as Anna's, was realizing that we were onto something kind of, that this could be gigantic when the hall was already full before we aired. But one of my favorites is running into Deborah Ann dressed as Hit Girl. No, it was Hit Girl, wasn't it? Who is it from King House?
Oh, Hit Girl, yeah.
Yeah. She was dressed. She walks the floor in costume, so because she loves this stuff. And I love waiting to see what she's going to be wearing each year.
She didn't do it this year.
I don't have time this year. I was going to come as Crow from Mystery Science Theater, but...
Wait, Deborah Ann, are you like a fangirl? Like, do you have like obsession? Like, are you a Game of Thrones person? Or
Yeah, I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a big Mystery Science Theater fan, and I read comics.
She owns a glue gun. Glue gun. She makes her own costumes. Last year she came, we were like, where's your costume? She's like, my glue gun broke. Like, that's for real.
Deborah Ann actually made an entire wall of shelves for her comic book collection.
Well, for my boyfriend's comic book collection.
There you go.
She's
Not
awesome.
her blue, with, like screws.
this is very surprising. I feel like
I just want to know where did you get the Cousin It costume? Because that was pretty
Yeah,
bad.
she won.
I was on like Forbes, like best costumes at Comic-Con. They had no idea it was me. So. I was like happier than I've ever been in my life.
I feel like you're coming out at Comic-Con. Very, very emotional.
It's very emotional.
So there's only about 5 episodes left of this final season. Ryan, what can you tease? Can you say to people what kind of maybe what we'll see? Any kind of tease?
They'll see the tease, right?
Oh, they will see it. Yes. Oh, I was just
I mean, it's
okay.
changing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to slow down.
Yeah.
It's just there's a bit more of a focus on romance. You know, we put the last season's issue to rest early for on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's really emotional and satisfying. You know, I think you guys love these characters, and we felt like we had to land them in places where you were going to be okay with not getting them anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of focus.
All right, cool. All right, let's take questions from the audience. Let's go to this lady zombie.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm very sad to see you guys go, but thank you, all of you, for taking the characters and embracing them and making them amazing and making us love you guys. I would like to know, is there anything fan fiction or from the fans that you guys took and made a part of your characters?
I did, yes. Fans were giving me scarves, which I took them and wore them on the show. I gave them to the costume designer, and she incorporated them in my costumes.
given jewelry that ended up on Pam. I think maybe here, some amazing billion cross necklace that I wore.
All right, next question.
Hi, my name is Cece Kama, and my question is for all of you. Being it's the final season, is there anything from the set, or maybe wardrobe, or maybe the tote, some of you taking home for a personal token?
I got to take my wig, so I've got my brown hair in case I ever need it, but it's kind of sad. It's kind of a sad wig.
I took Sookie's porch swing, the one that hangs in that tree opposite, the house, where we didn't do a ton of scenes in them, but for me it was always a place I would come and sit, between takes and stuff like that. That was cool. Yeah.
In my lots, there's 2 dead deer feet that have been there since the beginning, and then during the Mardi Gras, well, I think it was season 4 or 5, during Mardi Gras that would have been happening in New Orleans, they suddenly got all the Mardi Gras beads around them, wrapped around these deer feet, and I managed to snag those from my lots.
And I strongly suspect you're going to end up in our house.
HBO should probably sue me because I've been stealing from them for 7 years. On, his underwear, his socks, his t-shirts, and then for some reason I just never brought it back.
Anyone else taking?
Yeah, I took my fangs.
Thanks.
I think all the vampires have got their fangs, right?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't fit anyone else.
Yeah.
Routine, did you take anything?
I took some fangs and a couple of human clothes from Terra clothes, like this cut-off jean shorts that I wore all 4 season. And I put them in a little shadow box in my woman cave.
My woman cave?
Sam, did you take anything?
Well, I have a couple boxes of Relat's matches. That and some, my boots. I took those. Here's what I really want, you guys, and maybe you can help me. I really want the big wooden menu over Relat's, and Warner Brothers took it. I'm looking at you, Brian. I don't know why. Yeah, that's what I really want that, but they're not going to give it to me. I think they're actually archiving.
A lot of the stuff.
Yeah, they're going to archive Relat's and Fantasia.
All right, next question.
Hi, thank you so much for making such a great show. You're all amazing. My question is for the cast. Was there a scene that when you first read it was particularly moving or exciting, and what was it like to record that scene?
Well, for me, it was my very first day. The scene that Nelson and I had in the first episode. It's a great story, it's a great monologue, and like I said, that was my very first day on set ever. I got to that man right there, and Steve was directing. That was really, really awesome. I think it turned out well.
There's a scene last year, I think, where right after Jessica had killed the fairy girls, and I remember being really scared about that and scared of going there, but I get all high on the fairy blood and I run over to Jason's. And I remember reading through that scene there, and there's one moment where she's, I'm feeling so low, like how could anyone ever love me? And I look at him and I ask him, did you ever love me? And he said, yes. And I said, what? What could you possibly love about me? And he says, I guess everything. And I remember breaking down into tears reading that and thinking this is great. This is the kind of love that I think should be told, that kind of thing. And and I want to give a shout out to Ryan because he's not here and he's just one of the most exceptional actors to just every day working with him was a pleasure, and so shooting it was as moving as it was to read it.
think every scene I worked with Deborah and Nathan was particularly moving for me this season. It was one of the first times that I got to work with dynamic Miss D over here, and she's a marvelous actress. And Nathan, well, y'all see his work.
I think for me, the scene last season when Terry gets killed was really powerful on the page, even in the table read, when we were just reading through it. It was very emotional for me and for everyone in the room, because we were also attached to Todd Lowe, the amazing Todd Lowe, who played Terry. And so, you know, to then go and shoot that scene and live in the skin of Arlene at that moment, that profound moment, was just one of those magical, scary, sad, messy, beautiful days that you love to have as an actor. And you know, holding him in my arms, it really did feel like someone was dying, and it was, you know, that character, you know. So it was so fun for me when he got to come back this season and we got to have that scene together. Yeah.
I just, you know, one of the things that happens in this job is you get to do stuff that sometimes parallels what's happened to you or didn't happen to you. It means a lot. So this year, when I got to propose to Holly, I told my real wife, who I've been married to for almost 20 years, I said, sweetheart, you know that pathetic proposal that I, you know, when I proposed to my real wife, it made like Woody Allen look like Sylvester Stallone. Unconfident. So I told her, I'm going to shoot this scene and let's watch it together. And you pretend like you're that person on TV. And we'll be all good. And, you know, she bought it. Thank you.
I don't know if I actually have had any real moving scenes because Sarah Newland lives in such a weird part of the world. But I think that my final scene that I shot this season definitely, you know, pushed me to a place, you know, she's at her lowest. So yeah, that was a hard one for me. So we'll see.
I wasn't into this.
Yes, you were. All of them. There's, you know, the most moving or the most recent, but that we haven't seen yet, and some that we've seen. But in past years, when I read the scene where Eric releases Pam, I just, no. And then I started, of course, crying. And then, you know, when we were at the table read, and then in rehearsal, and then the camera's on my back, and they kept saying save it, I'm like, I can't. Yeah, that was very moving for me.
For me, I would have to say when I was shot in the head at the end of that was an incredibly moving scene, and I remember just being there with Anna and the song. Like for me, I had a hard time. I was like, I have to keep it together because just how they were in the scene, they were so amazingly beautiful that I just thought it was great. So that's
you know, for me, it's, I mean, really by far, the scene that I was really most moved in is one you haven't seen yet, that I did with Carrie Preston at our bar, and it was very, you know, just very emotional, and Carrie's such a great actress, and I don't get to work with her all that often. Every once in a while.